Hey photographers, here's a little one that works with blending modes. So blending modes in Photoshop is sort of like what your photographs are getting printed onto would be one way to think of it. So usually we deal with things that are paper, and so they obscure the things that are below them, but we have options to make photographs appear as though they were printed onto transparency, so that areas that are white would just be clear and would show through to the next layer below them. So check this out. I'm going to start with a photograph, and you can use anything just from your archive. And I'm going to make one new layer, and I'm going to put three, let's see, try that again. One new layer, yeah, there we go. And we're going to do some rectangles on this layer. And I'm going to do one like that. And this one I'm going to fill with white. So I'm going to choose white in my foreground color. Then I'm going to choose my paint bucket tool and fill that with white. I could go Control D to deselect that. Then I'm going to do that same step again. I'm going to go, and don't worry if it's not exactly the same. That's okay. And this one, actually, hold on, I'm going to go down here. I'm going to go down here and make one of these. And this one, I'm going to go black. And there we go, black. And then I'm going to, again, paint bucket, fill, and there we go. And then Control D to deselect that. And the last one I'm going to do a little bit different. So I'm going to go stretch out a box in the middle here. And then this time I'm going to go up to the Edit menu, Edit, and Fill. And I just practiced it, so it's already there. But up at the top here, I'm going to choose 50% gray, and the rest normal and 100%, and say OK. And in fact, I just skipped over, but where I said normal, that actually is a blending mode. And so, and we actually also see that same word normal appear, talking about layer 1. So we see that we currently have layer 1 in normal mode, and that means that these are like pieces of paper and that they we can turn them on or off, but if they're on, they are covering up the background below them. But watch as I take this layer that I just made and I change it into a different blending mode. In fact, once you select it there, you can use the arrow keys on the keyboard just to switch through them. So you see the names are changing. I'm just pushing the down arrow on the keyboard here. And so, actually, let me open up this thing because it's actually helpful. You'll see within this box that there's these groups. And these groups all act kind of the same, or similarly, I should say. And so the first group to think about is this one. And the king of this one really is multiply. And so multiply mode is really nice because multiply, as you can see here, makes white disappear. So if you've got, for example, a line drawing on white paper and you pull it in, you could put it into multiply mode and all of a sudden that white paper all just disappears and shows through to your background. So multiply is really the one that's the most like putting your photograph onto transparency. And you'll then see that all the partners in there of multiply do similar things in that with all of them, we've noticed our white rectangle is gone. And they do kind of different things to that gray rectangle, and that black rectangle just stays black pretty much, except for there's a little bit with the color burn. So they all kind of act the same. Okay, and then let's go into the next one. So the next one, really the main one in here is called screen, and screen mode is the most like, it's kind of a weird thing to imagine, but two projectors. So if you had two movie projectors pointing at the same screen, that's what screen mode would be like. And so in this mode, black disappears and white stays the same, and then with gray it sort of goes halfway. And all of the ones, lighten, screen, all these ones in here kind of act that way. And then the last one, and we'll talk more about this in another video, but overlay blending mode is one, and where you'll notice that white and black change some, but gray is totally gone. So gray here disappears. So you kind of see how those kind of line out as kind of three different options, that darken and multiply in these guys are making white disappear, lighten and all these guys are making black disappear, and overlay and all these guys are doing things and making black and white stay kind of the same, but then the 50% gray disappearing in that one. And then beyond that, there's some more weird ones where it's like flipping colors upside down to their opposites and doing other things like that. And so I think making this little box, and I'm going to flip it back to normal here, making these boxes is a helpful way to learn more about blending modes. And so I'm going to kind of slide these off to the side here. And then I'm going to, I've got another image in here and I want to bring it in. So I'm going to flip over to this other one over here. And this is the way I like to bring images in, is I like to just start with my move tool, grab the image, and I just pull it up to the bar. And then when the other picture opens up, I come in, and up until now I've had my finger on the mouse button, so I'm letting it go right now. There we go. There's our picture from the other side. And I drop it in, and of course it comes in as its own layer, which is nice. And that layer starts off as normal, so it's as if this was printed out on paper again. But look at how you can kind of flip through and get a lot of really crazy kind of mixes. I like that color burn one a lot. And it may be too much for you. Maybe you're like, wow, that is just intense. It's so crazy. Too much. Well, you could play around with the opacity. So there's lots and lots of ways to start to mix images together. So for this assignment, what I'd like to see is a layer with white, gray, and black all on the same layer, where you can play around with some different blending modes there. And then I'd also like to see a second picture. So I'd like to see one image in the background and then another image above where you've played around with the blending modes there. And then I'll let you just let it end up in a nice composition that you like, and you can give me a file save. So save this finished one. Save me an image of your a snipped image of your layer panel there, and I think that'll do it. You could play around with why don't you leave these in normal mode so we can see them really good, and then play around with the image on the other one. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Let me know if there's something that I could help clarify, and I'll see you soon. Thanks.